What's something that is common knowledge at your workplace that will be mind-blowing to the rest of us? I work a lot with the LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community. If they have put themselves at risk of HIV infection that is unprotected anal or vaginal sex in most cases, though there are plenty of other ways HIV can be contracted, they can take a course of HIV medication called PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, which you can take if you have been at risk of HIV infection, and if you start taking it within 72 hours of putting yourself at risk. It may be able to prevent you from becoming infected with HIV. Please can people arrow this up, so people especially young LGBT and heterosexual people are aware of this, and that there is something they can do to prevent HIV infection. Here is a link to the best of subreddit post for this comment in case anyone was having doubts. PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, is 100% legit. Who? Link. PEP medication. The course of medication is not cheap and can cost between $600 to $1,000 if your insurance does not cover it. If you live in the United Kingdom, PEP costs you absolutely nothing, as well as many other countries which offer free healthcare. There are also strong side effects which can make you feel seriously unwell, though this should not put you off if you believe you have been exposed. And please remember, HIV can take from anything from 3 months to 6 months to appear in blood tests, as they are testing for the antibodies you produce to fight HIV infection. Please do not presume once you have started the course of medication within 72 hours that you're 100% clear. You need to wait up to 6 months for a clearer picture. I work for a major ink and toner manufacturer. Guys, really? Just stop goddamn printing stupid sheet. You don't need it. You are getting raked over the coals, even by me selling remnants to you at 40% off. A 5,000 milliliter bottle of our most common ink costs us $120. HP 60s are our most common cartridge. They will only hold 6 milliliters. We sell them for $10. Also, those cartridges are garbage. For the love of everything you find holy, stop buying HP's junk. They are made to fail to make my job harder, and since they fail on the consumer too, they just make their lives harder. Why keep giving money to a company that is actively malicious towards you? Buying an inkjet printer that is an ink tank style system will save you countless dollars and headaches. If it is a Canon or Brother, Lexmark and Epson are made to self-destruct and are also less cost effective than Brother or Canon. These new HP 950/951 self-destruct. The 564/920/940 didn't, but HP made those all to be miserable to operate when using remnants for many integrated printhead or drums. In the case of toners, cards, you pay a premium to replace the printhead each time when you don't need to. HP 21/27/56 carts have a page counter on them of somewhere around 2200 to 2500 pages. I've had older 56 stop working for customers due to the page counter before the printhead wore out. My test machine doesn't check the page counter, so it can give me a perfect print, but the actual printer will check the counter. Also, in those 21/27/56 cartridges, HP changed the composition of the ink to where it pretty much destroys the printhead. These make my job miserable at times, but I have worked it out to have about an 80% success rate on them now, so /rude HP Lexmark, Epson, and HP, and Kodak, but lol, all have self-destructing cartridges. Epson for a while had self-destructing printers. Lexmark also installs a process called LEXBCE that makes your print spooler dependent on it. Good luck. Lexmark are the highest cost to operate printers by far, the least reliable / lowest quality, and the most scummy company out of the bunch. Brother are generally the least expensive and have the least issues because they keep things simple. An inexpensive to operate Brother will suit most any home consumer's needs. I'm not being paid by Brother, ha. I just like that they are the least crappy to the consumer. Honestly, the only time I recommend something other than Brother is when my customer wants to print photos, then I recommend a Canon ink tank style system. The current generation are the PGI 225/Cli 226, and they are good little cartridges, and I have sold hundreds, and can count the chip failures on one hand with fingers to spare, and those even shocked me. Now please Canon, don't make me look like a fool. Point. If you can find an old HP printer that took the 45/78 cartridges at Goodwill or wherever for cheap, it's probably worth the investment to grab it. Yes, the 60s are cheaper, but the 45s OEM are $35 for 42 milliliters of ink, where the 60s are $15 for 6 milliliters. You are getting conned hard on cheap ink. I'm looking at you too. Kodak, Point, Lexmark and HP send out firmware updates without your knowledge that disable your ability to use aftermarket products that are entirely legal to use. Remnants are. Counterfeits are not. I'm sure it mentions it in that YOLO you didn't read. Point. My job is far more complicated than just shoot some ink into it, no matter what those stupid advertisements from HP claimed. Everything gets electronically tested, cleaned thoroughly, tested again, filled under vacuum, and tested again. Just shooting ink into it works about 1% of the time. If the cartridge just ran out of ink. Point. When I tell you I need your empties back to keep up my stock, I mean it. I'm not trying to screw you out of your little office maximum rewards. I need your empties back to do my fiend job. Point. Finally, one of my good friends works at a big box office supply store. Stop grousing to these people about the cost of ink. There is almost no markup on it whatsoever at the retail level. If you're paying $40 for a stinking 12ml Lexmark 16 at Staples spent probably $39 on it. Point. Some of this, while mundane to me now, elicits a response from my customers, so hopefully it fits into the discussion. TLDR, I know way too much about inkjet cartridges. Edit. Wow, I wake up to tons of comment karma. Thanks. Also, so many comments and PMs, and even a request for an AMA. I'm trying to get to everyone, but I'm at work right now. Edit again. Holy crap, you guys have made me feel so much better about a job I was honestly very frustrated with. Virtually all of the forests you hike in, camp in, hunt in, and ride your bike through were once either farmland or pasture, or logged at some point in time. 99% of the forest land east of the Mississippi in the US and in Europe were all once cut down, and almost none of the original old growth forests remain in the state they were before man cultivated the land. Notable exceptions are high mountaintop forests, steep ravines, and specially conserved tracts of land held privately by concerned landowners. Many hardwood forests in the US were cut down between 1750 and 1900 and are in the process of secondary succession, whereby new pioneer species take over and a new forest slowly matures. These secondary forests aren't always of the same species as the ones that existed before being cut down. Many of the pine oak forests of New England have been replaced by birch maple forests. And both the American chestnut and American elm species, which once comprised some of the most massive and beautiful trees, and made up to 60% of forest stands down the Appalachian Mountains, have been killed off by introduced diseases from Europe. Edit. I should have stated that I'm a forester and do most of my work out in the woods, and occasionally in front of a couple computer screens making maps using GIS software. While it is not possible with current technology to revive large organisms that have been cryogenically frozen, it is entirely possible to revive cells that have been cryopreserved. It gets cooler. We can store cells in a deep freeze state, -200°C, and bring them back years later. The cells will thaw, grow, reproduce, and continue on their respective merry ways, as if nothing out of the ordinary ever happened. Edit. Woke up to a bunch of replies, so I'll clarify some of the top questions. 1. Why don't the cells burst? We use the cryoprotectant before we freeze down the cells. This prevents the water in the cells from crystallizing when it freezes. We stick the cells in special vials and put the vials in this temperature regulating chamber that looks something like a large revolver chamber. This slows the freezing process to an acceptable rate. Once the cells reach -80°C, they are taken out of the regulating chamber and transferred to -200°C. 2. What's preventing you from scaling this up to animals? Humans? Let me preface this answer with a disclaimer. I'm not a cryogenicist. Part of my job involves storing cell lines in cryogenic states. That being said, the biggest obstacle to overcome, if we were to revive frozen people, would be the brain. Cells don't have brains. Cells don't even have organs. You may argue from high school biology that they have organelles, but that's not the same thing. Cells are essentially macromolecular machines. You can leave your car sitting in the driveway unattended for a couple years, and it will still run. When you come back, might need a jump or an oil change, but the analogy holds. Point 3. What cells are we talking about here? Malignant ones. Various assortments of cancer cell lines. They tend to grow a bit faster than their non-malignant counterparts and recover from freezing faster, but both malignant and non-malignant cells will recover and grow after freezing. Edit. Do not attempt to treat or diagnose yourself. Based on these flowcharts, seek professional medical opinion. Most medicine in the hospital can be conducted perfectly adequately using a simple flowchart tool. The hardest thing to teach young doctors is to break complex problems into their component parts and deal with them directly and individually. This will get you out of 90% of the sticky situations you are in as a young doc on overnight call. The flowcharts are easily accessed online in most hospitals. Point flowchart medicine baby, it is a faking lifesaver. Edit. Do not attempt to treat or diagnose yourself. Based on these flowcharts, seek professional medical opinion. Edit. Lots of people asking for examples. I put some in some replies below, but here ya go. You can get published guidelines in book form easily for any specialty as well. Here ya go, put some together for you. Point, here's a more specific one with dosages from this website. I'm at work. This may be behind a paywall for you. If so, I apologize for the runaround, but here is a standard of care document that some people will sit down with and build a flowchart out of. Its pediatrics, but the concept is the same. I work as a barista during the school year. One thing that a lot of our customers don't seem to know is that dark roast coffee actually has the lowest amount of caffeine on the roast spectrum. So many night shift workers will come in right before we close and ask for the darkest roast we have because they need to stay up all night. We always correct them and assure them that our lightest roast has the most caffeine. I think people assume that dark roast has more because it has a stronger coffee taste. So, they think that a stronger coffee taste equals more beans used to make it equals more caffeine. Not quite. We used 80 GO beans, no matter the roast, to make around 2.3 L of coffee. Point, at the shop where I worked, I'm sure this is the same for many other coffee shops as well. Dark roast coffee and light roast coffee are made from the same beans. Dark roast coffee, as the name implies, is roasted the longest. The beans gets that bitter and burnt taste, but more caffeine is burned off in the process. Since light roast is not processed for as long, more caffeine actually stays in the coffee beans. TLDR, if you need to stay up all night, light roast coffee has the most caffeine. Diamonds, specifically engagement rings. So many people on Reddit think their diamonds are a scam because people posted/told stories where they tried to sell a ring either to the original jewelry store or someone new and were offered much less than they paid for it. Point, this is because of multiple reasons. A. Jewelry stores don't sell a lot of engagement rings. Your sale may have made their day, week, or month. Point B. Commission. Salesperson gets it, manager gets it, etc. are all marking up said ring. C. When a diamond is loose, it's able to be resold based off of a pretty much set price, based off of the current diamond exchange prices. These are traded and sold like commodities of various qualities at various discounted rates. When a stone goes into a mounting, it becomes jewelry. It is less a diamond and more sold as jewelry. Think art. So the price can be very high. Point D. No one wants your old engagement or wedding ring. It's bad juju. Unless it's so sentimental for your kids to receive it, or 1920s Cartier. The jeweler will break it apart and get a diamond cutter to cut out the smaller accent stones, melt the gold, and either reuse or sell the diamond or diamonds. Edit. My figures are often exaggerated. They are fixed now. Let's say wholesale. This diamond is $2,500. The side stones are $500. The gold is $100. And it cost $200 to make the ring. So $3,300 wholesale, maybe $6,000 at the local jewelry store. When you try and sell it back, the jeweler will give you maybe 60% of the main stone value and a set value for the mounting, because he's buying it for parts to make someone else's jewelry. If the jeweler that sold it to you bought it back, they'll pay the most because they made a profit from you originally. Another jeweler isn't giving you more than the wholesale value to buy the ring because he can buy another wholesale ring instead. Many times it pays to sell it privately. That pair cut or markers you're wearing is out of style. I'm sorry if you got it recently. That means your fiancé got taken. Jewelers can't get rid of markers. Someone who doesn't know much about diamonds was in love and bought it for their fiancé. Many times the woman knows it's not fashionable, but likes it / madly in love, so they let it slide. Though many are returned the next day to swap them out for a newer style cut. Diamond cuts are fashionable, and the current ones are the most desirable. Diamonds are graded by color, cut, clarity, and carat. These all make up the price. Please read about these and how they affect value when purchasing a ring. Unfortunately, many people see a big stone in a mounting that looks white because it's surrounded by diamond accents. When that diamond is loose, it could be pretty yellowish. Diamonds have to be color graded when loose. A diamond has a color letter grade. The best is D. Always know the color. Think your friend's wife has a sick rock on her finger. If you look at it up close, it may look like ice on the inside. That means it's heavily included. That is less desirable because of poor clarity. Many people sacrifice color and clarity for size because size is the best method of showing off or showing love. Always ask for a Giacert or even EGL, but they are not as good. Exaggerate stone qualities. This is the stone unbiased blueprint. Jewelers trust this piece of paper so much, they'll buy $100,000 stones just from seeing the paper, as long as the stone matches the blueprint. You'll know what you're buying if the stone comes with it. I hope these have been helpful. Any questions, please ask away. I don't know if this is mind-blowing, but it drives me crazy at work. Technology companies don't give a fuck at all about your privacy. They regularly steal / take data and use it for internal analytics. The only part of privacy / security that they care about is what you see. Facebook, this isn't to blame them, but it's true, has convinced everyone that taking and using users' data is totally kosher. Be aware. Edit. There is a great diversity of opinion on this, and that is fine. The company I work for is a small startup, about 45 people. Our CEO and marketing guys just want user data and don't care about anything else. This isn't to say that the data we keep is enormously sensitive, purchasing patterns and things of that type, but nowhere do we inform the user that we are gathering their data. We also collect user emails for a specific purpose, sending receipts, but I have seen these used to send unsolicited spam. It is not true that all companies do this. I think Apple has the strongest record of the big companies in protecting privacy, but it seems very common among small companies and especially startups. These guys are desperate to make it rich and do not always have great respect for their customers. They very often take the view that their investors, or really their next investors, are their real customers. The point was made about Facebook. If you're not paying, you're not the customer. You're probably the product. I think the key thing is letting people know that you're collecting and using their data in a straightforward, plain English way. Almost no one does this. Edit. When it comes to security, I stand by what I first wrote. It is almost always only after a huge security leak, see LinkedIn or Google Wallet for recent examples, occurs that a company will start to impose strict security. All those apps you download that have any of your data, some dude wrote that and very likely did spend an extra month making it safe. Worked at a jewelry store in high school. 70-80% of a jewelry store's yearly profits are earned in December alone. Up to 15-20% of a jewelry store's yearly profits can be earned on December 24th alone. Also, yes, we know about De Beers and diamonds being grossly overpriced. We know. We don't like it either. We are not earning the high profit margins on the diamonds. They are. And no, are diamonds and conflict diamonds. You don't have to ask. Only about 1 in 10,000 diamonds in the world are conflict diamonds. Basically none make it to the United States. Edit. Citation was wrong about 1 in 10,000. It was 2 in 10,000. Now please, everyone who said that 1/5, 1/4 or 2/5 diamonds were conflict, show me your sources. None of you posted them. I don't mean to say that in confrontational way. I want to know this stuff so that I don't spread false information. That said, I did some quick googling, and the highest number one can find is 20% of yearly production, which is a different number than total in the world. That 20% number was only from the 80s though, and the same articles always said that it dropped below 1% as of 2004. A major cell phone company talks about going green, yet ships a 2x 1-inch box of SIM cards in a 12x 10x 8-inch cardboard box full of packing material to their stores. iPhones come in a cardboard box, which is surrounded by foam, which is framed by cardboard, and put inside another cardboard box. Only iPhones are shipped this way. When you buy something in the store, 2 of almost every receipt gets printed automatically. The extra sets are shredded and thrown in the trash. There is an email receipt option directly above the print option, at least in the city I work in. 10 stores, this option is not used. Employees in stores are required to handwrite their sales numbers on a form each day at the start of their shift. At the end of their shift, this form is to be filed in a separate folder for each employee. At the end of the month, the forms are removed from the folder, shredded, and thrown away. The forms are never looked at other than the day they are created and the day they are shredded. Every piece of information on each form is also written on an extremely accessible whiteboard in the back of the store and is updated daily. Customers are actively encouraged to drive back to the store with any questions about their device or service instead of calling into customer care because it costs the company more. If they call in, customers are actively discouraged from buying what might be a better fitting device for them if it works on an older part of the company's network. Because the company has spent billions on the newer network and doesn't want to support the old parts anymore, even though the new parts do not encompass the entire coverage map yet, thus screwing customers who do not live in areas supported by the new network. Since the speed of the old one is degrading at breakneck speed, employees were trained on how to better recognize what might be the best phone and matching accessories for a customer, then immediately told to ignore said training. The only reason the training ever happened was so the company could say they trained their employees on better customer relations. Every store in the entire western United States had any technicians removed from the stores over 2 years ago. All the customer service reps were repurposed over a year ago. End result, if you walk into a store with an issue with your phone/account, you are going to talk to a sales rep who has only ever been trained to sell you things. He or she knows nothing about fixing your phone and only wants to convince you to deal with the problem, put a band-aid on it, or replace your handset at a cost to you. If you call into customer care or tech support, these channels have not been informed that the stores are completely bereft of any form of support. They are still told that customers can go to the stores to get help so that they can be sold something new. Until recently, employees in stores were required to show every single service available to every person who walked into the store. You just want to buy a car charger? Too bad. You are getting pitched a new phone, several accessories, a mobile broadband device, and a tablet. Once you say no to all of those, 20 minutes later, then you can buy the car charger you came in for. That'll be $30. This ended recently after customer feedback scores fell to somewhere around 7%. In essence, this major cell phone company has done everything it can to be as harmful to the environment as possible, short of dumping old handsets into a bonfire, and actively encourages its employees to make the customer experience as terrible as possible in the name of grossly increased profits. From working at a kennel, a lot of places only have a few sizes for coffins. Should you want the kennel to bury your deceased pet for you? If your pet is too big to fit one, he/she will be made to fit in at working at a few vets. I have no idea how common knowledge this is, but I had no idea until I worked there. But if you see an injured animal on the side of the road that isn't yours, you can bring it into most places and they will treat the animal at no cost to you. If the animal dies, it will also be buried at no cost to you. Good Samaritan laws or something like that. If your animal has gotten into illegal drugs, just tell us. We don't care. Our business is treating your animal appropriately as fast as possible. Just faking tell us. It will save you money in the long run. since we won't need to go through so many wild diagnostic measures, and your poor balls-tripping pet can get its system cleared before anything too bad happens. If your cat is in for treatment and bites one of us, and has not had, or is overdue for its rabies vaccine, its head will be taken whenever it dies, if it is available, and will be shipped off for its brain to be studied. Edit. Correction on my part, their animal will be contained for a week or two after the bite, and if it shows symptoms, it will then be euthanized and put down. Sorry for my mistake, this is purely personal. But if your pet is at a certain elderly age, 12 plus, and having major issues, please just consider euthanization. The amount of money you'll spend on the insane amount of treatments to keep your pet alive for another few months is not worth it, and the amount of suffering the animal endures from all the treatments is also not worth it. So many animals come in that really would be better off going peacefully into the bright light, but owners just can't let go. It's frustrating to watch. Former prison guard here. Most inmates do not have access to weights more than 2 to 4 times per month, and only if they've earned it with good behavior. The going rate for cigarettes on the prison black market is $100/box point. If you are willing to go a few years without any friends, and if you have about $100 a month of expendable income, depending on your crime, you can go your entire sentence without being in a fight or joining a gang. Rap happens in prison, but it isn't nearly as common as it was 30 years ago. Inmates have an anonymous hotline they can call if they want to report a rap, and now there are cameras almost everywhere except for cells. That's where most rap happens, and there's not a lot prison guards can do to stop it. 95% of what you see in prison TV shows or movies is creative thinking. Your first day in prison, I do not recommend picking a fight with the biggest, toughest looking guy in prison, or fighting with the first person who's an asshole to you. It won't make you look tough. More likely you'll just go to seg for a few weeks before getting kicked out into a new unit where you'll have to do it all over again. Instead, find out who is in charge of your race. If you're white, it'll probably be Aryan Brotherhood or Peckerwood. Then either join up or ask how much it costs to be protected. This is called paying rent. You won't make any friends paying rent, so plan on reading a lot. If you don't have the money or the desire to be extorted, you can join the gang. I wouldn't recommend this unless you're going to be down for a long time. You'll start out on the bottom of the prison gang hierarchy. After an initial training period of working out, you'll be asked to do hits on enemies of the gang. The shot callers will tell you who and when you'll be attacking, and you'll be expected to follow through. The problem with this is that you'll likely be given additional time on your sentence, so if your goal is to get out of prison, this isn't the recommended route. Plus, you'll be required to get gang tattoos, which will make it difficult to live normally after prison, and are often accompanied with Hep C, HIV, and TB. It depends on the state, but guards in the towers are carrying weapons with live ammunition. Prison guards tend to be rednecks with fairly good aim. If you are going to kick someone's ass, don't do it in the yard. If you are perceived by a tower guard as putting someone in a position of substantial bodily harm or risk of life, you will be killed. Perimeter towers are also armed with live ammunition. If you are going to try to escape, your best bet is tunneling out, or stealing a guard uniform, or impersonating a staff member, etc. Over the fence will probably get you shot, unless you have friends who have bribed the guard in the tower. If you're in for anything sexual, you're gonna have a bad time. TLDR, don't go to prison, it sucks. I'm a hostess, we hit a weight pretty quick. So we give out those pager things. You know, they blink, vibrate, and make noise. Well, we keep them on a charger, so we don't mistakenly fuck you over with a dead one. They buzz for a moment when we take them off the charger. Oh, looks like my table's available already, is the most used phrase while talking to us. By now that remark isn't cute, original, or funny to us. But hey, we grin and bear it, and sometimes have contests to come up with the funniest response. I think tonight's was oh no, it just warped back from the future 30 minutes from now. Well, on a serious note, you'd be surprised to know that if you come in and pretend to have a reservation, management will 9 times out of 10 have us fit you in as soon as possible, even if it's clear you are lying. If we don't take reservations between 7 and 8 and someone comes in at 7:30 claiming they confirmed it earlier, we know It's not like we think everyone lies about it, for fear of other guests getting the wrong idea about our place. Edit. Well, I wrote this originally coming off a 10-hour shift at the place, all tired and busy. Edited to fix it, and include a more serious fun fact. In the ad department, we can read any email you send and receive. Quite often we have filters set up for keywords. Even if your conversation is innocent, you would be amazed that just replying to an old email chain means that we can still see the faking thread because of that one keyword. So we know everything that goes on. We have to read the whole lot to find out why it's flagged. We don't want to know you have thrush. We know when you are bitching about us. Sometimes we have to do certain things and we don't have a choice in the matter. It's always that way. We are sorry. Your IT department is not there to piss you off. We don't like doing it either. We have the right to open a random account and poke around the files. Certain organizations mean we have to do this. Don't bitch about sending confidential email to us when we're trying to diagnose a problem. We know it's confidential. Our clearance is higher than yours. We have special processes to handle confidential emails. If you don't forward us that email, then sometimes we can't help you. Damn, I'm really angry about this. No, we will not let you install programs yourself. Yes, we blocked your Christmas tree application because it was malware and sending data. You can always haggle a plumber's price down. If it's in the lower end of small claims court cash, they don't want to waste time in court with you for less than $1,000 or more. If you ever decide to sue somebody, or if anyone ever decides to sue you, you'll get a front row seat to see exactly how private all of your information is. Yes, it is true that you need to sign very specific documentation to release your info to exact parties, although honestly, when you go to your lawyer's office, you'll sign a fat stack of them and not even read them, or have your POA do it. They could write one to anyone, and you'd probably sign it without blinking. And many organizations won't release this info easily, especially employment records, banking information, etc. I bring this up because our medical data, the stuff that you think is of utmost security and is protected like crazy, an unusually high number of offices will release that information to anyone with no documentation. Try calling a few doctors and telling them that you're obtaining records for a law firm. I guarantee you a bunch will just ask for an email or fax number. Those offices are busy, and they get hundreds of requests like this a year. They just want them over and done with. On a similar note, if you go and see a doctor, best believe that the front desk / support staff knows every single interesting detail in your chart, and then some, from cork size to STD history, anything shared with the physician and beyond. Doctor-patient confidentiality exists, but the unspoken dynamic is doctor-patient receptionist confidentiality. We smile and act like we know nothing because we are professionals. Yeah, I've had a lot of jobs. Dear sir, when did yelling and anger become such a big part of customer service? There's a reason we no longer say the customer is always right. Insults and degradation are not actually included in my job description, so I'd appreciate it if you'd treat me like an actual human being. As soon as your abusive behavior begins to keep me from polite customers willing to accept my assistance without yelling at me, I will cut you off without so much as a backwards glance. It is no longer cost effective or efficient to help shitty customers. Why should I try to talk over your loud, abusive, and sometimes racist complaints when I could be assisting another person who actually wants me to help them? As soon as you get shitty with me, I want you out of the way. If that means I have to say no until you hang up or stop emailing, I'll do so. It's quicker than helping your poor impulse control. I'm not your therapist. I don't care if you learn how to control your anger issues. That's not my job. Keep that shit out of my backyard. I'm not here to fuck you over. I'm trying to make a living wage by helping the people that contact me. If I appear new, it's because people are shitty to everyone who works here, so the turnover is a little higher than normal. I apologize if someone was shitty to you that day or week or life, but it was not me. Thanks for reading. Customer support dick. There are flame retardant chemicals everywhere around you. Mattresses, all foam products, baby furniture, just about any furniture in your schools, homes, offices, and even your cars. They will slow the burning of the product down by a few seconds, but that's it. They are pretty useless. To add to it, if your house is burning down, the smoke will own you. They are very stable chemicals, so they enter your body and don't really ever leave. When I say your body, I'm also talking about your pets and your babies, especially. This is because these chemicals are not bound to the furniture and end up in the dust in your homes. And who is closer to the ground than your pets and your babies? They will cause cancer and thyroid problems and tons more other problems. The companies that produce these chemicals spend tons of money to get laws to pass through lies and scare tactics to require the use of these chemicals. They pretty much laugh in your face because they have so much money it is nearly impossible to stop them. Even after years and years, when you finally build enough evidence to ban a few of their chemicals, they will just make a slightly different chemical to replace it. TLDR, there are flame retardant chemicals in your home, schools, offices, cars. They don't do anything. They are horrible for you, wildlife, and the environment, and there are laws to keep them there because the chemical makers are evil, greedy and rich. I'm a bit late to the game, but I'll give it a shot. I work at an adult store that specializes in high quality, body safe products. We are the only store in our city that takes medical referrals. The following aren't exactly mind-blowing, but every day I talk to customers who are shocked to learn these industry/product tidbits. First and foremost, it is very likely that in the country that you live in there is little to no regulation regarding the manufacture and distribution of adult products. Many companies take advantage of this and produce toys and body products that are not made of materials that you would want in and around your body. This can lead to any number of sketchy things ending up at stores, including toys that are made of porous materials that are nearly impossible to disinfect, lubricants and lotions that can cause tissue damage/permanent desensitization/infection, and plastics that straight up leach toxins. For example, phthalates are bad for you in a pretty serious way, so much so that a lot of places are looking to have them banned from being used in the soles of shoes. The vast majority of soft, rubbery sex toys you will find in your average adult video store contain phthalates, as it's way cheaper to make toys out of these plastics than from safer materials. This means it is up to you to protect yourself when buying such products. If the package of the toy you're looking at doesn't say 100% medical grade silicone/stainless steel/abs/elastoma/borosilicate, etc., it's probably best to keep looking. If a lube claims to heat/cool/tingle/desensitize, in most cases it's best to just avoid it. If you have a toy at home that you aren't sure about, cover it with a condom when you use it. Most condoms, unless labeled otherwise, are lubricated with silicone lubricant. You'll see why this is important in a second. On that note, Cyber Skin looks awesome and feels like the real thing. It's also very porous. Keep that in mind when you're buying a replacement fleshlight. Silicone lube is condom and body safe and super popular with customers as it does not get tacky like water-based lubes do. While a pretty awesome product for use on your body, it will damage silicone toys. If you wash it off the toy right away, chances are you won't notice a change, but that formerly safe toy is now porous and will retain bacteria after you've washed it. If you don't wash all of it off, that toy will melt to the bottom of your bedside drawer. I've heard from a few customers who were more than a little surprised at the seemingly spontaneous disintegration of their toy. If it's going to be around a toy, use water-based lube. If it gets tacky, instead of using more lube, just add a sprinkle of water, AskReddit, or some spit to the lubricated area, which will reconstitute the product. No need to waste lube. Women should avoid using oil/oil-based products in or around their vaginas, despite what a lot of trendy books and magazines have said lately. Vaginas do a very good job of keeping themselves clean and bacteria-free. Oils inhibit the natural flushing process of the vagina, allowing infection-causing bacteria to flourish. You would not believe how many women come into the store claiming that every time they use lube they end up at the doctors with horrible infections, only for us to find out that they've been using baby/vegetable/massage oil in lieu of an actual lubricant. It should be noted that I get the occasional customer who swears that they've been using oils for ages and haven't had a problem. If this is you, it's possible that you have a different body chemistry than most women, but it's more likely that you're just really lucky. In this, as in most cases, a good quality water-based lubricant is your best bet. That $10 dildo you bought at the Bourne store down the street is probably made of old tires, and the lube that came with it is made from the tears of a 7-year-old factory worker in China. I work at a major pet store retailer. You know absolutely nothing vital about your animal. You buy horrible treats and food without batting an eyelash or doing some goddamn research. We do carry some sheet products, mainly for the customers that can't afford the actual things that would benefit their pets. Yep. Contrary to popular belief, most, if not all, employees care about the animals we sell. Don't let Peter fuck with your brain. We may not know where the bird/hamster/reptile/fish come from exactly, but we try and socialize them, care for them, and take care of them when they are sick, just like our own pets. Do not ask which pets bite the least. They all can and will bite your precious little baby. Getting a 4-year-old hamster is possibly the stupidest thing you could do. That, and expecting your young child to be a responsible pet owner. You will be taking care of this creature, so to your goddamn research point, working in a large pet retailer isn't the best job in the world. Sure, we get to see pets, but we also have to deal with the staggering ignorance of the owners. More fun tips: retractable leashes are a death trap, and you look like an idiot using one in a small building. Training your dog is something that should come as a requirement with dog ownership. Watching the dog whisperer does not make you an expert. Your fish will most likely die because you wanted to buy a tank and just put them in there right away. Wait at least 2 to 4 days to let the tank cycle. Also, bring in a water sample. Most pet stores will test your water. Turtles enjoy eating fish. Sorry your kid had to watch that because you failed to ask. You are overfeeding your animal.